What's up, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend. I'm so honored here and happy to bring on a great guy. I've gotten to know Sean over the last couple of years, and there's nobody better to bring on and talk about real estate wholesaling. He's Mr. Flip to Freedom. He's been around for years, and just established so many great content, helped out so many people across the country. So Sean, thanks for being here.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. I'm excited. Yeah. Ready to rock the house after Memorial Day. Had a great weekend. Beautiful out here in Phoenix. Ready to rock it.
So you guys haven't had too much of the lockdown, right? You guys have been off lockdown for a while, right?
No, they just lifted it last week. So the gyms just opened last week. I've been back in my office for about 2 weeks now. So we got hit pretty. I mean, everything shut. All the gyms shut down, restaurants shut down, pretty much everything shut down. So it's good to be back. I think, and I have a team. My team is about 17 people between both companies. But I think I found that my team works highly productive from home. So I basically told them, I said, if you hit your quotas, then you can work at home or the office, or you can, pretty much do what you want to do. And they've been nailing it. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, I think I had the same, thought process on it. I think a lot of people are going to see that the old way of doing business probably isn't going to be necessary. We're seeing a lot of people work remotely and be productive, like you said. So it's interesting to see kind of how all this will play out. And we'll get into that because I think you have a lot of great insight to share with people. People are getting on now, so we'll wait a few seconds. But kind of give your background a little bit for people that haven't been able to come across you yet, and just to kind of give the people watching this who you are and kind of how you got started.
Sure. Well, first off, I grew up in Vermont. Of all places. So a very small town, grew up, with maple syrup and cow tipping, right? So, but I grew up in a town where my dad made no more than probably about $50,000 a year. And everything was, we can't afford this and we can't afford that. So at a young age, I've always been a hustler to, mow grass and shovel snow in Vermont and do whatever I could do to make money, so I wasn't have to be reliant on my parents. And so I had 2 or 3 newspaper, routes that I would do and do whatever I could do to make money, because I wanted to be out of that realm. I remember, and this is going to date me, I went watching, Robin Leach on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Yeah. Now they have Cribs, or now they have, all these other shows that they get on there, or Billions, right? And I'm like, I want that. And I didn't really know how to achieve it. So I just knew that I wanted it, but I just didn't know how to do it. So I joined the Marine Corps when I was 18 years old, traveled the country, went to war in the first Gulf War, and way back when in the 1991, 92. And I found the book Think and Grow Rich while I was in Okinawa, Japan. And I read that book, and it gave me an understanding that an average person has the ability with their mind to be able to see it, visualize it, put forth a plan of action. You can have it, right? So that's when I really kind of correlated, my actions, my thoughts with success. And, and I wrote journals. I got journals back from when I was in Okinawa, Japan, of me wanting to buy and sell distressed houses, not even knowing what that was. So anyways, I started down that path, and I kind of got diverted off, some different things. And it finally came, and I read the book Creating Wealth from Robert Allen. And I was on ship in the Gulf War. And I remember it was my birthday, January 14th. And President Bush Sr. came on the TVs on ship. I was on a USS Tripoli, came in and said, okay, we're going to war. Prepare yourselves. And I'm like, wow, this is
real.
I'm just turning 21 years old. We're, in the Gulf, we're going to war. But I had this book that I bought prior in San Diego, prior to going on ship, Creating Wealth. I read the whole book, and I had a buddy of mine. I was like, wow, this is incredible. He read the book. So, that all passed. I finally, got back to the United States and was on this quest to buy our first, property. So 1992, and I didn't know it was a savings and loan crisis. I didn't know any macroeconomics or microeconomics or, any economics pretty much, right? I just came back and we were like, let's buy a property. So we bought on a wraparound mortgage when I was 22 years old, a 16-unit apartment complex in Scottsdale, Arizona. And we lived on site, managed the property, and kind of did the whole thing. So that was my first kind of taste of real estate investment. It didn't really turn out I learned a lot about it. But again, then I got diverted off for, until 2003 came, and I got back interested in doing real estate. So I kind of I went off on a different path. I came back, next thing you know, it's 2003. So 2003, I bought this course on wholesaling houses. So I thought I had a preconceived notion that you had to have a bankroll of cash, right, to buy property, or you had to have great credit to qualify for a loan. And that was the only way you're going to be able to participate in the real estate game, because I had my previous history. I bought did a wraparound mortgage, borrowed some money, had some of my own money with a buddy of mine, bought this place. So I didn't understand the whole process or the concept of wholesaling, where you could sign a contract and essentially flip that contract. So I was driving down the freeway in 2003. I was 33 years old. I had a brand new daughter at the time. Driving down the freeway, and this guy was on the radio, talked about how you could flip houses and you could wholesale houses and you could do all this. And he had people on there talking about how they made $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 from flipping houses in 15 days and 30 days. And I was like, what a scam. Who is going to listen to this? This is a joke, right? I was like, you got to be kidding me. I said, you can't do that in real estate. How can you sell a house you don't own, right?
Right.
So I was like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is crazy. So I remember I was driving down, and at the time I was working, I was selling pools in landscaping. I found a pool company, a landscape company. I was selling pools and landscaping at the time. So I was Saturday afternoon driving down the freeway. It was in May of 2003. And this guy came on the radio, started listening. And I was so skeptical, so closed-minded, so stupid, right? Thinking I knew what I knew. I actually turned the channel and I was like, this is a joke. Wow. This is a scam. And I continued driving down. I was looking for something. There's no sports on in May, right? There's nothing, right. Whatever. So I'm driving down the freeway and I'm like, there's nothing. And I remember now I know it's God's intervention. Basically tapped me on the shoulder, whatever. And I had this gut feeling. I was like, maybe I should go back and listen to what this had. I was curious. I went back and I continued to listen. He had this course, never bought a course before, bought a book before, but not a course before, about how to knock on pre-foreclosure doors. So you go out, you get a list, and you knock on doors. So I bought the course, and I got the course home, and I was so excited. And there wasn't DVDs, there were cassette tapes. So I had these cassette tapes. I put the first tape in, right? And I'm sitting there, I have my TV, I'm putting the tape in, I got my notepad, I'm ready to go. And it comes on. Now this is 2003, mind you. And this dude it was black and white, in bell bottoms with a big old, cowboy hat on his head. And he's sitting there talking like this. You get the list and you knock on the door. This course was filmed in 1992.
Wow.
1992. And I'm like, what the? And I started looking at it, and it was all weird and stuff like that. So apparently what happened is this guy had a bunch of courses in his garage that he filmed in 1992, got on radio and sold a bunch of them, and then bolted, left, right? So anyways, I'm like, I wonder if it still works today, 10, 11 years later. So I bought a list. It cost me $100 to buy a list of pre-foreclosures. Okay. And I went and started knocking on doors. And that was basically my start. The first door I knocked on, I remember I walked up to the house, and they had this big, gigantic truck in front of the house. It wasn't parked in the driveway. It was parked on the front yard, right? In the yard, yeah. Around the truck. I got up to the door. It's May of 2003. The screen was open, and the door was open, the screen here, and I knocked on it, knocked on the door. and this big gigantic dude about like 6'6", 6'5" or whatever came behind the screen, and all I saw was a gigantic shadow. And I'm like, I was like, and he opens the door, he goes, "What do you want?" Right? And I'm like, oh, geez. I'm like, this is my first house, right? And I'm like, and I'm a grown man, right? I'm 33 years old, prior U.S. Marine, you know, this stuff like that. So, and I literally could not get a word out of my mouth. I was like, and I was going to try to say, listen, hey, I want to see if I can help you with your house before it goes to auction, you know, on so-and-so date, right? So I'm sitting there, and I couldn't get a word out, and the guy's looking at me like, what a moron. And I turned around and hightailed it back to my car. I got in my car, and that's when I contemplated quitting, not doing it. I was like, this is ridiculous. I can't do that. I can't go knock on doors. First door I knocked on. I contemplated quitting right there. And I remember I turned on my car, and I had a cassette tape at the time in my car of Think and Grow Rich. Again, I would listen to it over and over and over again. And there was a part that came on right at that specific time, another God intervention thing that came on, and it was Winston Churchill or Napoleon Hill talking about Winston Churchill about never, ever, 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 ever quitting on your dream. And I happened to turn the car on, had this whole thing about never quitting, and I figured, okay, God, I got it. And next thing you know, I'm saying I had a resolve where I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this no matter what. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to knock on doors till my knuckles are bloody. You know, I'm going to do it, you know, Monday through, you know, Sunday. I'm going to do whatever. At the time, I'm working around this other job I'm doing. So, you know, finally, I found a deal, got a deal, did everything wrong. Yep. Got it signed. It made $11,008, and this was in May of 2003. I got my first deal, and that literally changed everything because it created a proof of concept for me that it could be done. Because all the naysayers, my father-in-law saying you can't sell a house you don't own, he referred me to a realtor that said all the professionals get those houses, you'll never get any. Right. You know, everyone that told me I was crazy, you can't do this, what are you, nuts? And then actually doing it, having a check, making it happen, that was a difference maker. And first year, that was May, from May to December, I made like $134,000 you know, and it literally changed everything for me. And from there, it's you know, from there, that was 2003. It cranked till about 2006, 7. Then we hit the Great Recession, right? You know, and then it cranked, you know, again. So it's been an incredible ride. I've seen a lot of, you know, the way the market swings and stuff like that. So I'm incredibly grateful for, you know, for finding that and then being able to teach it and share it. Because my two passions are real estate. I love real estate, doing deals and stuff like that, but also teaching and educating is such an awesome thing to do. So
I love that story about how your first, you know, kind of introduction to it was your first thought was, man, this is a scam.
Damn.
Yeah. And now you're like, the guy to teach people how to do this, which is amazing. And you referenced it a couple of times, and I think this is where, you know, we really hit it off, Sean, because we're both men of faith. And immediately when you start telling that story, you know, I kind of go back to how I feel about, you know, they say you can never look at connect the dots, you know, when you're in the moment or looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. And I mean, just when, you know, you had that book on the ship to, you know, driving down the freeway and having that infomercial come on. I mean, these are all God intervention, right? Like God is leading us to this path, and you know, now you're here, you're successful, you've helped thousands and thousands of people, and you know, I think, you know, you always share it's because of the faith that you have in God, and you know, just kind of, you know, being a man of faith and putting it out there, and look where you're at now. I love that story.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if someone was going to say, what's your number one success secret, is that, you know, is my faith, number one, in connection with God, and my and when you put faith and trust in God, and it's not a blind faith or trust, it's just an absolute faith or trust that He will lead you and direct you and guide you in a way in your life, in your business, and you kind of you kind of submit to, to his will, essentially, which is not easy to do because we're naturally a control. We want control of all the elements. But when you release that, it's amazing how, things come up, opportunities come up that it's unexplainable how it happens. And it's, there in the book of Joshua, when Joshua leads the Israelites through the Jordan River at the time, and God was telling Joshua, which he didn't believe he had the ability to lead the Israelites, but God's like, do it. And then Joshua turns around and tells the leaders to step into the Jordan River. And it's amazing that the miracle didn't happen until the faith and trust in action happened. Then, right, guess what happened? As soon as the leaders, their foot hit the water, bam, a huge wind came and the wall of water came up, and it led a path directly to, the promised land. So I, kind of relate that to our lives, that, we're given opportunities, or we see what we want, and we're sitting there kind of going, okay, God, give me a way, show me how to do it, this, that, and the other. But then we sit idle and we don't take that step in faith. If you take that step in faith, and there's going to be fear, guess what? These guys are standing at the edge of the Jordan River, and the Jordan River's flowing by. Absolutely. And then they gotta step into it, which equates to death, right? We have opportunities that come up, and we have to step into that fear with faith. And and I think there's all sorts of decisions. There's fear-based decisions, there's faith-based decisions. And if you operate from a faith-based decision standpoint instead of a fear-based decision standpoint, you'll get to your promised land. The miracles will happen. Things that are unexplainable will happen. Things that have happened in my life are completely unexplainable. And it's because of those, faith-based decisions that happen. So.
And even to that point, Sean, even though when we do decide to step out in that faith-based action forward, I'm going for it, doesn't necessarily mean it's a straight line, right? That doesn't guarantee us immediate success. I mean, you came out of the gate and kind of struggled along, and then boom, you got your mojo. And then I think you shared the story about, right around the crash, like you started getting out of your kind of your niche and investing in land deals. And so, but that kind of didn't work out the best for you, right? And then
that's a really interesting story. And if I go back to it, so at the time in early 2005, the market was insane. So through the process of pre-foreclosures and buying properties subject to, kind of marrying that two together, I had a partner of mine at the time, and we accumulated 120 houses during that time, $36 million worth. And that was like early 2004, all the way to 2004 to early 2005. We were literally getting properties under contract. We would give the seller money, their equity that they wanted to move out. We keep their existing loan in place. We'd reinstate that loan. And then we take over that property subject to the existing debt. And now we'd have that property, we clean it up, we put a tenant in there, and now we had all these rental properties, right? So, and the market was just going in Phoenix, it was going insane. It's literally 3 to 5% every single month. There was no inventory. There was about 5,000 units of inventory on the market. So the prices were going up like crazy. And we had a group out of California that basically a group of investors said, we'll take all your inventory. We own all 120 houses. Wow. So they bought literally blocks from us of all the houses we had, all the blocks. And I mean, I made so much money, it was insane. It was like, I mean, we were having wires coming in daily for $400,000 and $500,000 a day coming in for wires. It was insane. Wow. For all the deals, all the houses we were selling at literally, the top of the market. So that was my brilliant move. That's where, and what happened, because it was a brilliant move, which it was essentially a God thing again, but I didn't relate it to God. So I took it on as ego. Like, I'm brilliant. Like, I'm the one that's me. I'm the one. So now I disconnected, because I thought I was all that. I thought I was, I wasn't humble. I wasn't, connecting. I wasn't doing my morning ritual. I wasn't spending time in the Bible. I wasn't, praying and stuff like that. And I got away from my core element. And what happened is I was out of the will. I wasn't being led correctly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I took all that money, and I had another friend of mine who's like, hey, we should do land acquisition and entitlement. Right. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's, without understanding market cycles, where we were in a market cycle, the land is not, there's no income. So literally we went out and bought, all these different parcels. We brought it through entitlement process. I was hobnobbing with some of the, most predominant attorneys in Phoenix. I was doing fundraisers. I was doing fundraisers for, the political, like the vice mayor and the town councilors and stuff like that to get our projects through. So I was like, and I thought it was all that. Then the crash hit, and our properties literally, with land, you value it on a land to home value ratio. So we had $30 million worth of land, about 560 lots that we were in the process of entitling. And the market completely crashed where houses were $200,000 are now $25,000 to $30,000, which essentially kills the value of land.
Sure.
So now I'm sitting there. We have all this land. We have these debt interest payments to the tune of $100,000 a month that we're having to pay. And we're just blowing through cash trying to keep these things afloat until we finally came to the point where I found myself illiquid. Right. This was in 2008. It was like illiquid. Washington Mutual crashed, Bear Stearns crashed. It was a bad time in the world right then. TARP came in. So world crashed. And then I found myself illiquid, no cash, right? Had all these properties, they're valued to zero. And I would sit and read the newspaper every day looking for any type of positive signs of hope that the market was coming back and I could get myself out of this mess. And guess what? There was no signs. And this was the inflection point that God literally brought me to my knees. It was Labor Day 2008. And I was sleeping in. I wasn't getting up early. I wasn't reading the Bible. I wasn't connected. I was disconnected. Labor Day 2008, I get a knock on the door. I mean, this dude's banging on my door. And it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm asleep. I get up, and then my boxers, throw my hat on, walk to the door. And this dude is there to repossess my car.
Wow.
Repossess my car. And talk about a humbling, I mean, literally the adrenaline flooded through my body. I remember I was shaking, trying to find my keys to give the guy the keys so he could take my car. It's Labor Day, so the neighbors are cutting their lawn and doing this, that, and the other. And there's guys with a tow truck in front of my house to take my car, right? So that was a point where I was like, wow, I've got to, what am I doing? And then that evening, I think my in-laws came over. And well, first off, I talked my way out of him taking the car, talked to the, lender and have him give me a couple days to pay the whatever, $1,200 or whatever it was, or $2,000. So my father-in-law came over. He gave me the book, The 4 Spiritual Laws of Success.
Okay.
The first chapter talks about tithing. And I stopped tithing, right, during this whole process. So it talked about tithing, the importance of tithing.
Yes.
And tithing, and not many people talk about this on lives and stuff like that, real estate investing, but it's an incredibly important thing. So tithing is the principle of giving a tenth of the income that comes in your household, right? So, and I wasn't doing it. I was disconnected. So, I read that and I made a choice right then to listen, I'm going to give 10% of any money that comes into our family, right? And I made that decision. And from that, I mean, I gave like $20 right here and, this and that. And it just started, building where it's now and it's been literally a thing that I do every single week on Sunday. Go through my finances of all my personal income that came in, and I give 10% no matter what. Awesome. And literally God has blessed me with more opportunity than I've ever dreamt possible. And I've never, after that point, committed to that, have ever had a financial issue you know, things have come up, but God has always provided in ways that are not possible.
Yeah, you've been faithful, and He has too, and that's the way it works, and that's amazing. Yeah, I love your story, Sean. It's so encouraging, and I love to see, you know, the fact that you got out of your comfort zone, you took action, you know, you started having success, life knocked you down, and then you recommitted to, you know, what got you there, you know, and back to your core values and your principles and beliefs. So huge, right? I mean, I think I talk a lot about, you know, this journey that we're on as entrepreneurs, because it's so challenging, and it really forces us to focus on ourselves, how to get better every single day. You know, the level you're at, it's not necessarily, well, how can I, you know, get really great at marketing or you know, talking to sellers? Like, that's old hat for you. So as a guy that's, you know, a business owner and always looking to get better, I think the answer, right, would be, you know, how do we get better as men and husbands and fathers and leaders, and just really set great examples, you know, and
yeah, I mean, you can be, it's like, it's, I look at it like this. I said, you can have, you can have incredible business. You can have a ton of success. You could have all the things. So now think about think about this, you know, when it comes to priorities and when it comes to balance, right? So there's two important things, is that, you know, if the priorities are kind of screwed up or shifted, and you get everything you want financially, you have the huge house up on top of the hill, you have a closet full of the best, you know, Brioni suits you could ever have or whatever, and you got the shoes, and you got the car in the garage and everything, and you're sitting up on your hill, you're looking out over the ocean or wherever, the mountain or wherever you're looking at, and you're alone.
Yeah.
Right? No kids, no family, no wife, no, you know, whatever. You're kind of, because you put yourself in a hole, and you built this amazing business, but now you have no one to share it with. That's not a definition of success, you know? And I look at priorities, you know, and priorities are, you have your priorities, and you look, you know, at someone's priorities, you look at the calendar, and you look at where they spend their money, right? So I try to look at the calendar. The way I operate my life in calendar is I put everything in my calendar, my priorities first. Like, God goes in my calendar first. That's the first thing I do in the morning. You know, then family goes in my calendar. So my calendar's all filled up with family stuff. And then I fill in all the stuff with my health, going to the gym, working out, going to Orange Theory, doing stuff like that. Then, and only then, I'll fill out stuff with my friends, like, oh, hey, we'll golf on Friday, so I got to put that in there. So then I put all the stuff with work. And it's amazing that if you kind of manage your calendar in a way of based upon priorities and fill in all the important stuff first, you'll have plenty of time for work. You'll have plenty of time to do the things that you want to do, and you'll achieve cool things.
I love that. Yeah, you're designing your business to serve you, and you're not a slave to your business.
Right.
You know? And I think that is awesome. And many people that get into the business feel like, you know, yeah, of course, when we get into it, we're going to have to work it and do things to the business. But the goal is to get yourself out of that daily activity. And so you can actually create something that is going to provide that freedom for us. Right. And you know, putting your head down and working, you know, like a mule, as my buddy Mark says, it's going to lead to burnout.
Well, here's what made a shift for me. So hiring my first person was a massive obstacle for me, because I'm in my mindset always like, I can do it better. Why would I want to waste the time teaching somebody when I can just get it done? Like pulling lists, sending direct mail, doing this, all the tasks we do in our business. So I joined a mastermind. It was Collective Genius. Jason Medley was there. There's maybe 10 people in the room. And I remember sitting up in front of the room, and I was stressed. I was working 6-7 days a week. I was running on seller appointments. I was finding buyers. I was doing everything as a solopreneur, running a wholesaling business, doing deals, but I had zero balance, zero priorities. I was just going, right? Because in real estate, there's always something that's going on.
Always.
So I go to this mastermind, first mastermind I ever attended or joined, have been a part of, and I get up in front of the room and you're kind of talking about what you do and what's going great and what's sucking. So I get to the what's sucking part and I'm like, listen, I don't have a life. I'm working, 24/7. I'm just stressed out to the max. And Jason, I remember he goes, well, why don't you hire somebody? And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Hire somebody? I can't hire somebody. That means I got to pay for someone their life and their pay. What? I never did payroll taxes, payroll insurance. What the heck? I can't hire him. So he got me over the hump of understanding that, yes, I could do that. I did make my first hire, a lady by the name of Nancy, who was in her early 60s and just went through a divorce, a referral from my father-in-law. And she comes into the office. And I remember she's sitting in the corner of the office, and I don't really know what to tell her what to do.
Yeah.
But I told her, scrub list. Here, go scrub this list. And then I, put marketing. I said, hey, just, answer the calls, take the information down, maybe book an appointment. So what did it for me is understanding the power of leverage, understanding what leverage is. So then I went on an appointment with a seller, and I came back and there was 4 appointments booked.
Boom.
Like, whoa. Now I don't have to clear my voicemail and try to get back to these people. She booked appointments. Then I started understanding, wow, things are getting done when I'm doing other stuff that's productive, but other things are getting done as well. Then I'm like, wow. Then I started hiring people, right? So now I've got like 17 people in both companies, and we're hiring. I just hired another guy. We're hiring some more people. But the bottom line is that understanding leverage, if you find incredibly great people that can do portions of the business, it allows you to work on strategic things like marketing, like finding strategic new marketing things, or make the business better. And it allows you to be able to do that. So I have a beach house in Southern California in Dana Point. We go out there every summer. I've owned it for a while. And we go out there. I remember I'd be sitting on the beach. I can look at my phone because we have our scorecards, we all have our KPIs, and marketing's being done, calls are being answered, offers are being made, contracts are being done and signed, and properties are being sold, properties closing, wires are going into my account, and I'm on the beach.
Amazing.
And I go, that is leverage. That is, so I can take so I've been taking the whole month off of July for pretty much almost 10 plus years now, for all month of July. And I'll just literally just disconnect. I mean, I'll do a Monday morning Zoom call with my team or whatever, but they're good. And literally just, that's it. Then I'll just go hang out at the beach, go play tennis, go shopping, do whatever, we do with the family and stuff like that. But it's a great time, and I've been doing it for years. My kids have grown up like that, and it's awesome.
That's freedom, right? I mean, that's
what we're doing it for, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole point, right? Like, let's not get into this and create a high-paying job that, the minute we want to take a vacation, or God forbid we get sick, or something happens in life, and then we can't put out the productivity and the action, all of a sudden our income dries up, right? And so that's the serious thing. So obviously take Sean's advice. I mean, we've got to start somewhere. Hiring an assistant is the best way to start the process of learning how to be an employer, and it's a whole nother dynamic when you are in charge of people's livelihoods. People are counting on you, right? And so it's a shift.
Yeah. So I like, first off, what are you building, right? So that's the question, right? What are you building? What are you building? So, because you can't build a house if you don't have a blueprint. And if you got to get a blueprint first, and you got to have the people, you got a plumber, you have the framer, you have the guys pouring the concrete, you got the guys doing, the AC and stuff. They're all different people that have roles into accomplishing and completing the blueprint. So you have an end result, which is a house, right? So what's the end result? What do we want to create? Well, we want to create a business where we have everybody that has their own roles, responsibilities, and goals that they achieve, and that business operates and buys and sells houses and generates revenue on a monthly basis. So you got to understand what the blueprint is. So the blueprint is, in my blueprint right now, is I have essentially an acquisition team of sales guys, and I have a disposition team of guys that, or the team that sells properties. And then marketing, and we have a CFO. So because we do deals all across the entire country virtually, and everything we do is over the phone, is that you literally need an acquisition team, a disposition team, and you need someone that's going to do the marketing. And you can have a fully operational, and you can scale it based upon the amount of leads that you got coming in. So we get about 100 leads a day that come into the business, and we're operating right now at about maybe 10% of capacity. So that's why we're aggressively hiring. We're on a massive hiring spree prior to this whole COVID. We've kind of paused it, and looking. Now there's 40 million people we can choose from in the marketplace, and find great talent that we can bring in and build the sales team. But there's no reason why on a national model that we can't have 50 sales guys all working virtually from their home offices, that are all and ramp up the leads where we're getting 1,000 leads a day coming into the business and doing deals all across the country, and be able to have a disposition teams that are going out and marketing and closing and selling and transaction coordinators and crushing the deal. So the potential is there, and what's about to hit the market is going to be insane. I saw a stat this morning that the default rate just increased by 6.54% this month, right? 6.54%, which is larger, the largest increase in mortgage defaults than in 2008. It's been the largest in history in a 1 month increase in default for mortgages, right? So what does that mean? That means for you and I, there's a wave of distressed sellers that's about to hit the market. We're about, their default now, it's typically about 90 to 120 days, and we're going to see a massive influx of distressed sellers. Now, what does that do? You increase inventory in the market. It will pull down on pricing a little bit. It's going to put a stress on pricing. Buyers, I think buyers are going to wait to kind of see for deals that's coming on over the next couple months as deals come on. But guess what? As a real estate wholesaler, we're not really affected that way because we're not a buy and hold, and we're not essentially trying to catch a falling knife. What we're doing is we're offering lower. Instead of offering 60% and you sell at 70% on a theoretical basis, on example, you offer 50% and sell at 60%. In 2008, we were offering 30% and selling at 40%. And we were selling to hedge funds, and other buyers were pulling, So there's always buyers for the right price. As a wholesaler, as this comes into the market, the inventory increases, and we shift from a buyer's market to from a seller's market to a buyer's market. Now we're going to offer lower to a seller and be able to sell that property at, offer 40 and sell it for 50. And there's this equilibrium right now where sellers believe they can get more, but it's going to start coming in line to where it's going to be market, where sellers are going to start, asking what the buyers are going to want. But sellers don't have
they're late to the party. They're always late. Sellers are always late to the party, right? They're always the last ones to figure out what's going on. They're kind of in denial.
Yeah. So interestingly, so our conversation, and we've had our conversations with our team. We do Monday morning meetings with our whole team, and I'm constantly looking at the market and stats and the default rate stats and stuff like that, so I can guide my team on what to say. So we got a seller, and a seller's on the phone, and goes, the seller wants a certain price for the property. Now they can talk educate and say, listen, did you know, Mr. Seller, that the default increase right now 6.54% or 56% month over month? That means there's millions of foreclosures about to hit the market. Do you understand what that will do to your home value? That is going to increase your home value dramatic. So I understand you want your price now, but your price, and we're offering you a price today, but that price is going to be dramatically different a month from now. And it's going to be ridiculously different 3 months from now. So I'm saying is, if you want to sell and you want to sell now, now's the time to do it before this wave hits. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're going to be anywhere from 10, 20, 30% below our current number. So what do you want to do? Right. So it allows you to negotiate based upon information and what's about to happen. And when you're talking to sellers like that, it really makes them think that, do I really want that 150, or should I take the 120? You know what I mean? So.
No, it's huge. I mean, and guys, you have to remember that we're the experts. And so this is not like trying to persuade anyone here to sell it for less. We're serving them. Yeah. Because these people, they don't talk real estate every day. They're kind of in their own bubble. We're talking real estate every single day. We're paying attention to the underlying economics. what's happening in the market. We're using, history to kind of show us where we're at. Sean's been through a crash. I got into the business during the crash. So I'm very aware of the underlying economic factors, the unemployment, the fact that many large corporations are going bankrupt, inflation, all these things that are coming are direct, indicators of a market that's going to shift. And so it's our job to understand this and then educate these sellers, because you are serving them their best interest. Because, in 6 months, you don't want to be like, hey, I told you so. Now I can't pay you what I told you I'd pay you today.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, from a business perspective, in our mission, obviously, is to help distressed sellers basically get out of a house that they don't want. Right. Mm-hmm. So, that's our mission. We want to be able to do that in the best way possible. And then we want to serve our buyers and help them and reach their goals, right? Because they have a goal to build a rental portfolio. They have a goal to fix and flip properties, whatever that goal might be. So we're essentially trying to serve the buyer to help them and serve the seller. And you're actually serving the neighborhood, because you're taking up property that may be in a distressed situation, maybe hasn't been renovated, maybe it's tired, and bring it up to the highest and best use. Is going to do good for all the neighborhood. So sure. the situation is we're serving a lot of people doing what we do, marketing for distressed sellers, solving problems, clearing title issues, and then being able to get that property sold and do it in a way. But the thing is that the number and the hardest thing in this business is finding those distressed sellers, especially back in January. January, the market's on fire. Inventories are record lows. Everybody has a job, right? Everything's going great, right? So it becomes, in the conversation in January was, let's try, what can we do? Could we cold call? Do we RVM? Do we do Google AdWords? What's the new next strategy to try to generate leads into our business? Because it's very difficult finding that distressed seller, right? So, and the opportunity is, to be able to do that. So now it's completely shifted. There's a whole wave that's about to hit the market, I think in 60, 90 days, 90, 120 days, where there's going to be a plethora of distressed sellers on the market that you can essentially work with. So I think it's an incredible time for someone right now that if you are been sitting on the fence, if you want to get up and going, and if you want to do this, now is the time to get started. Position yourself correctly to be in front of this wave coming in, right? Because there is millions and millions and millions of dollars to be made by helping these distressed sellers connect with these cash buyers and make a profit in between. There's millions of dollars to be made. And that's just on the residential side, not even including the commercial side, which is going to collapse as well. As soon as when you have a residential collapse, and now with this whole shift in the way people are now working at home, there's a whole massive commercial mess that's about to hit the market probably in another 6 months or so, and it's going to be bad. Carl Icahn, billionaire, he has the biggest short position right now in the commercial mortgage debt market. He believes that's going to collapse right now, and that's his biggest position right now. He's probably going to make a fortune. He'll turn billions into multi-billions because of that, because of what he's seeing. So there's a lot of, as it gets bad, there's a lot of opportunity to be able to help these people that need liquidity. They need to get out of their properties. They need to sell them now. They need to get cash. Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and Chase just suspended all of their HELOCs, home equity line of credits, on second mortgages, right? So they suspended those. So now someone can't go to their house and pull out equity in their property anymore. So now the only way they can tap into cash is to be able to sell their property quick for cash. Now, you spend time building cash buyers, right? And then you have a front end, marketing. You're going to be able to get a lot of leads coming in. Leads are going to come in like an influx. So you want to position yourself not to sit on the sidelines, but to get that direct mail out. Get that, get your AdWords set up. Get your, your Bringless Voice Miracle. Whatever you're doing to generate leads. In my opinion, we're doubling down. We're increasing our lead count marketing on a monthly basis. So
that's what I was going to ask you. So you're putting some gasoline on the marketing now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we're seeing an influx. Our lead count. Well, what we saw as this whole thing was going on in the past 90 days or 60 days is that the same marketing spend tripled the amount of leads.
Jeez.
Right. So the amount of leads because of have come in. More people are responding. Our response rates in some of these markets for direct mail is over 2.5, 3%, which is essentially 3% is unheard of, right? Unheard of.
It's like triple.
Yeah, it's triple, right?
Yeah.
And more than in Phoenix is 0.0007%. But you take all the iBuyers, you take Zillow, OfferPad, Open Door, Knock, all the major iBuyers out of the market, right? That's a ton of marketing that goes out to the market. Now, response rates are increasing. There's an influx of leads of sellers coming in. I'm telling you, there's no time to sleep. I mean, it's like I go to bed at 12 or 1 and I'm up at 5:30, 6 o'clock. It's like there's no time to sleep because there's now is an incredible opportunity to be positioned. So like I'm saying, for everybody watching right now, if you've been sitting on the fence, if you really haven't got serious about this, or maybe you're kind of holding back or whatever, don't do it. Now's the time to double down, get serious, get focused on your marketing in conversion, and you'll get, I'm telling you, in the next probably 2 years, you could clean up. I'm talking millions and millions of dollars that you could potentially make. So
Michael has a question, Sean. He says, with some of the lessons learned from the Great Recession, don't you think that protections have been put in place to thwart a tsunami of foreclosure?
I think the government can only do so much, meaning they have control of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and those are government-backed essential entities, right? So they could do something with those. Now, those companies, right, hold a lot of the debt in America right now. But you have all the other mortgage companies that essentially, there's only so much bailout you can do. I mean, now you're talking, they already did trillions. Now talking about 3 trillion more. How much more can you do? There's going to be a point of where you have to go, listen, you have to let the chips fall as they may. And so now these mortgage defaults are happening, to the tune of millions of mortgage defaults. I think there's 1.8 million. But I mean, you're talking, that's a lot of money, right? And as that increases, so I could they do a bailout, and could they do possibly? But I don't think it's a dam that can't be basically shored up, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Mike Flora says, keep in mind that in 2008, there was no equity in homes. This time around, there is equity in many Americans' homes, and they will sell for something and not walk away.
Right. Yeah. There definitely be equity. They're not going to be able to tap in that equity unless they sell. But here's the issue. They can list the property on the market, but still a house is only worth what a person's willing to pay for it. Right. So people that are credit worthy, that can get loans currently in this market, are not going to pay top of price. I mean, for an example, my wife's a realtor. She has a couple listings. She has this one listing. She has it listed for $735,000. She's getting offers right now in the 600s, right? Wow. So because there's a credit-worthy buyer for a property that now understands that these houses are popping up, that they can get better deals during this, they're coming in and making offers to try to get deals on properties.
And I think also there's a lot of opportunity in some of the seller financing deals you could do, subject to type deals, if it makes sense. Sellers are much more open to having those conversations. At least we're seeing that on our side. Even 3-4 months ago, that was a non-starter.
Yeah, so you just got to be a little bit careful with that, because again, you're catching a falling knife. Right. So I mean, let's say someone, the house is worth $200,000. And they owe 170 per se, and you do a subject to at a 170, you give the seller $5,000, they move out, you get the house. As long as it cash flows significantly, that house could essentially go down to value for less. It could go a lot lower. So you're trying to catch that falling knife. I probably wouldn't be doing any subject twos or the creative seller financing for us, essentially for a buy and hold or even flipping for probably about another 6 months until we come out of the other side. Then you can kind of get into that and figure out where the bottom is. Good
point. Michael asks, would you use fear as part of your marketing message?
I wouldn't use fear. I would use education, right? So it's not really fear. It's like, listen, Mr. Seller, we just had mortgage default rate that increased this, month more than 2008. So what does that mean for the marketplace? That means more inventory coming into the marketplace, which means inventory supply and demand. Your house value is going to decrease because there's more inventory, distressed inventory in the market. Well, when distressed inventory hits the market, they don't sell at top price. They sell at a discount, and that discount create comps, and those comps create your home value, Mr. Seller. Mm-hmm. So I understand and I appreciate the fact that you want $150,000 for your house, but based on what's coming into the marketplace right now, if you really want to need to sell now, then here's the best price we can offer for the property. So I don't think it's really a fear-based, like fear-mongering type of thing. I think it's more taking the facts that are currently out there, having an understanding of what's going to happen with those facts, and then relaying it to a seller. And sellers are either going to say, oh, you're full of crap and pound salt, or they're going to say, you know what, that sounds right. You know what I mean? And you can educate them on it.
So are you going back into direct mail heavy, or you guys have anything that's really working well for you right now as far as like marketing?
Working well is we're doing, we basically, pay-per-click advertising. We do Bing and Google, and we target states. So we target about 42 states across the country right now that we're targeting. Is we got 42 states we're targeting. And then what happens is in those states, we're finding these small little towns that we have a lot of buyer influx that's in those towns. And then we're basically sending direct mail to these small towns. So what we're looking for in these small towns, there's a population over 50,000, at least an hour away from a major metropolitan city, and at least 10, and we call them flippers, and we pull those out of REI Automator, which is like prop stream. So we pull those flippers out, which are agents that represent the cash buyers that bought and sold houses. So we'll target those agents, and we'll be able to, sell the properties quickly in that way. So we'll send direct mail to those towns. Like we did direct mail in Akron. We got 2.5% response rate there, and literally we got flooded with calls of sellers got properties under contract, and so instead of sending them in Phoenix where there's a 0.0007%, or in the like Dallas or Houston or the big cities, we're finding these small little towns with a ton of buyer activity, with large enough populations close to a major city that we're sending direct mail to and getting deals in.
Is that something newer you're doing, or you've always gone virtual, right? But have you
No, actually, I've 17 years. I have been Phoenix only, and I've done nationally with students. So because I have a podcast and Instagram, Facebook. So what happens is I'll have a student in another city that will say, hey, I got a deal under contract. Can I partner you with? And we'd work with them to help them find a buyer, right? But my primary business model as a real estate wholesaler has been in Phoenix, Arizona, doing deals locally in our local market. So we were entrenched in Phoenix. We're doing 100,000 direct mail units a month. We're doing tons of pay-per-click advertising on Bing, ringless voicemail, cold calling, all in Phoenix, right? So this past, it was pretty much September, I decided to switch my entire business model and go virtual.
Okay.
Looking back at it right now, that's another God thing, that was like, wow, that was thank God I did that. So I went virtual September, and we made the decision like September, and really started implementing in October, November, December, where we really started ramping and started working it in the virtual model. So we literally went completely virtual. We still do deals in Phoenix, and we closed one on Friday, a deal in Phoenix. But we still do local, but we do national. And I basically had to teach my whole team. recreate scripts, recreate processes. We moved into a different CRM. We basically rebranded, changed our whole business model and changed everything. And my guys are crushing. I mean, we're signing about 6 to 8 contracts a week. We're selling 5 to 6 properties a week right now nationally. It's a big deal. Yeah, we're doing a couple $100,000 a week in revenue, so it's crazy.
Boom. Yeah. Guys, I want to protect Sean's time here. They're actually running a business, so he's got to run here in a second. But please, if you got questions, this is the guy to ask. So I want to respect his time, but fire your questions in. Let's get Sean to answer a few, and then we're going to let him get back to his day.
Monday morning meeting.
Monday morning. Tuesday now.
Well, yeah, Tuesday. Yeah, because he's right. It's Tuesday morning meeting. So short week. Yeah, I'm off to Rosemary Beach on Sunday.
Nice.
So it'll be the first time we've flown. So my whole family, we're flying to, we'll go to Dallas and Dallas into Destin, and then we go down. We rented this kicking beach house in Rosemary Beach for a week with some friends. So we're going out there on Sunday to hang out. Be fun.
I love it. Yeah, that's great, man. Again, just what the power of what this business can do, freedom, and creating experiences for our families and our loved ones, our children. It's a blessing, right, to be able to do these things and enjoy what we do at the same time. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. And be able to go out there and not stress. I mean, I used to, anytime I go on a vacation or something, before I had a team or understood leverage, I would go sit on the beach and I get text message coming in and deals would blow up. I'd have to go handle, and the phone would be ringing off the hook. And so I'm on the phone pacing on the beach while my family's, playing, trying to get deals done. Right. It's just no.
We've all been there. I totally get it. Rory asks, what is your recommended selling strategy for properties held in business or personally now?
Held in business?
Yeah. What is your recommended selling strategy for properties held in maybe like an LLCs? I'd imagine.
So if a property's held in an LLC, if it's held in an LLC, you can sell the property. So I'll just tell you our best selling strategy that's working right now virtually across the country is what we're doing is inside of REI Automator, which is a white label prop stream, is we're pulling what's called flippers. Flippers are real estate agents that represent cash buyers that bought a property in the last 2 years and now have it listed on the MLS to sell. So essentially they're buying, fixing, and selling. So we'll go into a city and we'll pull the flippers. So let's say there's 100 flippers that represent these cash buyers. We can pull the agent name and phone number. So why do we want the agent? Because the agent represents the buyers in this case. Agents have a code of ethics. They're not going to circumvent the deal. So we really like working with agents. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull that agent data, the name and the telephone number, and then we're going to send them a text, right? And we're going to say, hey, we have a property off market, this, that, and the other. And we get responses from them that said, hey, we'll basically say, do you have a buyer, off market, wholesale property, give all the details. We'll send a text, and we're literally getting people coming back, take me off your list, stop texting me, or they'll come back and say, yes, I do have buyers. Yes, I have somebody. Yes, and then ask questions about it. We'll take them from the text, get them on the phone, build a relationship with them. And then we'll schedule an appointment with the seller there, with the agent, with their buyer, and they show the property, and we get the property sold and get it under contract and close it. Now we closed the deal last week in Fenton. Fenton, Michigan, which I've never been to. Easton, Maryland, which is right out of DC and Baltimore. Akron, Ohio. New Albany, Indiana. Hampton, Georgia. All these weird, little small town. Midland, Texas. Canton, Texas, we closed last week. There's another one we have in Texas. Oh, Tyler, Texas, we got in contract this past week. So these little towns like Tyler, who's heard of Tyler, Texas? But we put the information out to these agents, and literally our influx of buyers. Oh yeah, I have a buyer for that. I have a buyer for that, and be able to show the property. Had actually a bidding war for it, and in this current market, and sold the property at our asking price. So
amazing. Was there like a little bit of a learning curve or a ramp up to be able to push ARVs on that stuff?
Oh yeah, it's in there. Yeah, so the first month out of the gate, we signed 40 contracts.
Okay.
We sold about 20 of them, right? So first month out of the gate. So what we signed, we signed everybody and everything. I mean, we signed a deal in where is it, in Michigan, not even Detroit, Michigan, but this little town in Michigan where you can't even, nobody buys or sells houses in this town. Okay. And literally the water comes out black out of the faucet, right? It's like terrible, but we got it under contract, and of course we couldn't sell it. And we're so excited because we got it under contract for like $1,500, and we're going to sell it for like, 15 grand, right? That didn't work. So we had to, the learning curve was, number one, what is an actual deal, right? Yep. What's the deal? So we had to quantify and identify that. Then we had to determine, what was the deal. Then we had to determine, what was not a deal, what we could sell, what we can't sell. And then we really kind of dialed in our criteria on properties that we want to contract. And that criteria has to be 50,000, population, Zillow has to be there. If Zillow's not there, we don't contract it. So there has to be a Zestimate, and we get that property is 60% less of the actual Zestimate. So if our acquisition signs the contract, we're going to search, is it 50,000 population? Is it close to a major city, within an hour of a major city? Is it on Zillow? Is it 60% of Zillow? Right. And if it meets that criteria, or there's like Easton, Maryland, right? Great property, $27,000 deal, closing on Friday. So that deal, population was like 18,000, but it was 45 minutes from Baltimore and 45 minutes from DC, right? Okay. So now we market to DC, pull in the buyers, and we're able to sell that property, fairly quickly. In Easton, Maryland. So something like that.
I love it. Marcus asks, any advice for someone new to wholesaling, trying to close and scale? I think that's a completely different question, but primarily cold calling marketing with a dialer and CRM, pulling lists from PropStream. Got some leads in the pipeline, but none closed yet. 4 months in.
Remember, cold calling takes a little bit more nurturing involved, because when you do direct mail or you do pay-per-click advertising, that's someone that has a house, they want to sell, they see a marketing, they pick up the phone and they call and say, hey, yes, I have a house I want to sell. So they're reaching out to you saying, I want to sell. Where now cold calling is you're reaching out to them in the middle of their day saying, hey, oh, by the way, do you want to sell? Right? So you're trying to find that person that needs to sell. And so you're talking to a ton of people. Cold calling works, but there's a nurturing process and a follow-up process that you have to have with that. Whereas, you can do 1, 2, 3 contact closes with direct mail and pay-per-click advertising, and you might have to do, 12 to 15 contact closes with ringless voicemail, texting, and cold calling. So just know that it's going to take 12 to 15, upwards even 20 contacts before you can get that seller comfortable with you, because you've literally reached out to them. They're not searching for it, and worked with them to sell that property. Where you got someone that answers direct mail or pay-per-click advertising, they're calling, they need to sell a property, and it's usually a 1 to 3 contact close to get that done.
Love it. A couple more guys. What do you recommend for finding the best hot buyer markets, wholesaler market, in the current market and the market to come soon?
The hot buyer markets, actually what we, it's amazing that, small cities all across the country. Here's where we had the most success. We've had most success in small towns about an hour outside of major towns. Like, I wouldn't market in Dallas. Now, is Dallas a hot buyer's market? Yes. So I can tell you Dallas, but then Dallas, you know what I mean? It's the response rates are different and stuff like that. But outside of Dallas, you got Lubbock, you got Midland, you got Longview, you've got right out, outside of Dallas, and those are great little towns with tons of buyers with no competition on the marketing side. Now, again, in the next 60, 90 days, we're going to have an influx of these sellers coming in that are distressed, I believe, where you can market in these major metropolitan cities. Like, I mean, we're ramping up our marketing just in Phoenix alone as these distressed sellers come to market, because all the major players are out, all the iBuyers are out, and we're going to increase our marketing here because we're knowing that there's going to be a lot more influx of distressed sellers. So, I mean, any major market, if you go to Dallas, you go to Austin, you go to Houston, you go to Indianapolis, you go to Atlanta, Georgia, Phoenix, Arizona, any of those markets are markets where you'll have no problem selling properties just like that, right? Yeah. And now the key is finding those sellers. Now, again, right now it's a little harder because there's a lot of people marketing in those, and there's competition in the market. But as the distressed sellers increase over the next 60, 90, 120 days, then we'll see that the response rates will be higher. There'll be a lot more people responding, and it'll be easier to get deals.
Okay. Is it better to target all motivated seller list or go niche, like probate or tax delinquent? Or does it depend on?
I like targeting niche. I like targeting niche lists, especially. I'd rather pick 5 small towns and target all the distress, all the tax delinquent, all the vacant properties, all the pre-foreclosure properties. I really don't like probate properties. I don't do a lot of the probate. We'll do the high equity, vacant properties that work really well. So things like that.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Sean, this is gold. This is what you call insight and a lot of experience here.
Well, I appreciate it.
The shift.
It's gray hair. It's the gray hair. That's
yeah, that comes with the territory.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or the age.
Love it, man. I love it. Well, hey, like I said, I want to respect your time. You've been with us in a little over an hour. I so appreciate it. I know everybody on probably got tons of notes and gold nuggets. So thank you so much, Sean. Again, it's always a pleasure. I always look forward to seeing you, just crush it. And we're following along and always rooting for you. Anybody that hasn't reached out or gotten any of Sean's content, best place to reach you, Sean, would be?
Yeah, you can go to flip2freedom.com, flip2freedom.com, or just on Instagram at flip2freedom, Facebook flip2freedom, flip2freedom. Any of those, flip2freedom, flip2freedom, just search that, and I'm there.
Sweet. Thank you, brother. Look forward to talking to you again soon, man.
All right, man. God bless. Go out there and crank it. I appreciate it.
Everyone. Appreciate you guys being here. And if you guys got a lot of value, please share it with a friend. And that would be really awesome. All right, guys, make it a great day and always be phenomenal. God bless.
Boom.